Joining me now is Scott Lucas, a professor of international politics at Birmingham University. Welcome to the programme. Professor Scott Lucas, I lived in the Gulf for years. Now, many years ago, this seemed unthinkable, even though there was a relationship under the radar. So just explain to us, how significant is this?
What is publicly unthinkable is privately called diplomacy and, let's be honest, power plays for years. So let's explain why this has occurred and why it's not unthinkable. It is, first of all, primarily for domestic reasons. Benjamin Netanyahu, who is in trouble in Israel, who's facing court proceedings over alleged fraud, needs to have a victory. In the UAE, the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed, who really wants to be seen as a regional heavyweight, but he is facing the problems of UAE's intervention in Yemen. He wants the deal. And then there's the regional dynamics. Saudi Arabia is encouraging this deal from behind the scenes because of its rivalry, not only with Iran, but with Turkey. And we also have the dynamic in the region which is taking place, which is that countries are vying for influence in Syria. Countries are even vying for influence across in North Africa, where Turkey has intervened and others have intervened in that internal battle. And all of this means that the Palestinians are expendable. That's the bottom line, is that publicly we may continue to talk about Israel and Palestine, but that issue is way, way in the distance now. And really the next question, I think, is, can you get another photo opportunity for Donald Trump, Mohammed bin Zayed, the leaders of Bahrain, and Benjamin Netanyahu with Saudi Arabia moving towards its normalization of relations with Israel?
And when does that happen? When does that happen, Professor Scott Lucas? When does Saudi Arabia join?
It happens when King Salman passes power to his son, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. King Salman can't normalize relations with Israel because your viewers will know that about 15 years ago, his father committed to the Arab Peace Initiative, which was to get a Palestinian state. Publicly, King Salman can't bury that initiative and say, oh, well, you know what, Dad, it's gone. So you have to wait for Salman, I think, to step aside. Mohammed bin Salman, who is remaking Saudi Arabia, who is the de facto power there, publicly, when he becomes king, then he can show up in Washington as well with the Israelis.
That's so interesting, because Bahrain and Saudi Arabia are very closely aligned. And just how strong could this deal make the UAE defense-wise, and how could it affect the entire dynamic of the Middle East region as we see it right now?
Oh, now we get to the difficult questions. First of all, just to be clear to your viewers, this is not a peace agreement. It's being spun that way by the Americans. This is a roadmap which could lead to a peace agreement. And then you talk to a specific issue. The UAE, one reason why they have the deal is they want to get F-35 jet fighters from the United States. Israel doesn't want to give us its military advantage in terms of air power, so they don't want the United States to give F-35s to the UAE unless Israel gets, guess what, more military equipment from Washington. So very quickly we moved from the photo opportunity to the realities of who can get the most advantage from this politically and militarily.
It's a fascinating discussion. Would love to continue on the F-35s and defense. Thank you so much, as ever, Professor Scott Lucas. Thank you. Appreciate it.